So if
first, how did you come to that realization first? How did you realize, oh shit, ETs are trying to improve our situation here? How did you discover that firstly? And then to what extent are they doing that? How are they showing up?
So two things. One is the teachings that are laid out in the Law of One that I've mentioned so many times. And two is our direct experience of this phenomenon in reality perfectly coincide. Meaning, everything that's in the Law of One is a hypothesis, let's say. We don't know for sure that it's true because we're not at that place yet to be living from those truths yet. But the Law of One says, hey, this is the way that it is. And so we can only measure that statement or those conjectures.
So the Law of One came from ETs?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We can only measure that assessment against our direct experience and say, well, does that line up with what we see now? And the answer is a resounding yes. And so that question is called the Fermi paradox, right? Have you heard this? No? The Fermi paradox is what scientists call the question of, if there is life in the universe, and according to the universe we observe with trillions of habitable planets all around us, why don't we see aliens everywhere? Right? It's like having a fish in the ocean, but you're the only fish and there's no other fish. How can that be? There's got to be other fish. Why don't we see them? And the Law of One gives amazingly satisfying answers to that question. And it's through this understanding of positive, negative polarity. So our planet, third density, is the density where we're still choosing what polarity we want to be, individually and collectively. So collectively, as a planet, 51% or more of us have to consciously choose the path of love and unity. And at that point, we become officially positively polarized, and it increases from there. To become negatively polarized, 95% or more of our population must actively choose the path of separation, to shut off the heart, to feel no love for anyone, to be completely self-centered. And so that's obviously a really high standard, 95%. But that's because the negative path is not harmonious, as is the positive path. It's a path of great disharmony and entropy and conflict. So it takes a lot stronger polarization to graduate. So anyway, every ET in the universe is only one of those two polarities. And that's the first mistake we make, is that we project our consciousness onto ETs and say, well, they must be just like us. And like in ways they are, but they're not in the choosing anymore. Any ET that we're seeing in our skies, their civilization chose their polarity eons ago. So they're fully positively polarized, meaning they live and abide in the constant awareness of oneness.
Is there a fully negative polarized ETs that come here as well?
Yes and no. So the Law of One says the reason that negative ETs don't show up on our planet to openly try and enslave us is because they would if they could. And the whole universe would be negatively polarized in a short matter of time. So what the positive polarity does, and in a loose sense, the positive polarity of consciousness is much more powerful than the negative, in the same way that light is much more powerful than darkness. But the positive path is benevolent and merciful and kind, so it doesn't want to stomp out the negative path in the way that the negative path wants to stomp out the light. It says there's a place in our universe for the negative. So we need to allow those beings to be negative, but we can't allow them to just run unfettered across the universe and conquer every planet in sight, or the whole universe will be negative. So to keep the natural balance of things, let's protect developing planets. So it's like a mother hen that protects her eggs or something. Positive ETs protect developing planets like ours with something they call the quarantine. And this might sound really woo-woo and metaphysical, but
go for it, bro.
Basically all they're doing is they encase our planet with a kind of shield of loving energy, loving vibration, that negative ETs, they have to stay as far away from love as possible, because love is incredibly depolarizing to negative energy. And negative polarization is really hard to gain in the universe. You have to enslave people, you have to control them, you have to take power over them. And that's not easy to do. So a negative being who's gained a lot of negative charge isn't going to risk losing a bunch of it from being around loving beings, right? They stay as far away from loving beings as possible to keep their negativity. So if these positive beings encase third density planets with a charge of love, no negative ETs can come through it.
So you're not under the belief that there's some thinkers in this space who believe that negative ETs are the ones who control this society. You're not under that impression?
No, there's room for that, because although they can't come here physically, they can send thought forms and they can telepathically communicate, which they certainly do.
Okay, how so?
So in thought, you can be anywhere at any time, right? Thought, the universe is quantum, meaning there's really no different locations. It's just that it's all mental. So if you want to speak to someone anywhere in the universe, these higher density beings, that's as easy as walking down the street for them. You know what I mean? They live in that space of timeless, eternal consciousness. So they can easily send thought forms to people, and they definitely do, in my opinion, to those elites of our planet who are trying to take control. The negative path is the path of master and disciple, just like on Star Wars. It's literally just like Star Wars, where a great negative polarized master will have minions or servants that serve under it. And to enslave or to be enslaved is negatively polarizing. So both are benefiting from the relationship, both the master and the disciple. But the Law of One says at a certain point, every disciple will get to the point where they try to overthrow their master. Just like in Star Wars, I believe it's Darth Maul. Qui-Gon Jinn tells Obi-Wan that long ago, Darth Maul killed his own master to become his own master. That's classic negative polarity. So if the disciple fails, the master will banish it and have to go find a new master to serve and start all over again. So this is the interplay on the negative. It's a pecking order. It's a pyramid always. And you're always climbing up the ladder. So they can't come here physically, or they would, but they can come here psychically.
They can project here?
No, like in thought, people can channel negative ETs just like they can channel positive ETs. So until our planet chooses a polarity, it's going to be protected by the quarantine. And it's really no different than, like, imagine our scientists, right, who go to the Serengeti to film a documentary on zebras or lions. They don't go sprinting into the herd of zebras, taking pictures and filming, or they would freak them out and the zebras are going to run away, right? So they observe from a distance so that the zebras feel safe. But at a certain point, the scientists have to acclimate the zebras to their presence and kind of prove to them that we're safe. We're not predators. We're not here to harm you. And after a while, the zebras stop running away from the cameramen and they just, whatever, they ignore them. Well, humanity is in that very same acclimation phase with positive ETs. Because positive ETs, the positive polarity, does not infringe on free will. Infringing on free will is the negative polarity, and that's how they gain charge. But you gain charge on the positive polarity by honoring free will and helping and serving people in that way. So positive ETs also can't just come openly amongst us and give us technology, because we have tons of world religions, right? It would contradict a lot of belief systems. It would scare people and freak people out. It would force people to question their religion and stuff. And they see that as an infringement of our free will. If these people want to be Islamic, Judaistic, Christian, like, we allow that. We're not going to go ruin their religions. That's infringement. So, like, we have a lot of evolving to do before we're able to, I think, communicate openly with ETs.
Do you have the ability to communicate?
I mean, we all do.
Like, do you ever channel them, or is it just through education or reading?
Just through my own reading. I've tried channeling a little bit and have had what felt like some success, but I'm really just more interested in understanding the metaphysics that are happening here, because one of my theories is that positive ETs are in communication with our governments, because our governments, they're not religious. They want to know what's true and they want to control everything. And we've had many, many disclosures at this point, even in Congress, right? That they've admitted, like, yeah, we've had extraterrestrial crafts and we've even recovered extraterrestrial beings long, long ago. And we've been keeping this a secret from the public. Somebody recently disclosed that our government has been in communication with extraterrestrial civilizations for quite some time. And here's my theory, just understanding the nature of positive ETs, is that they want to be of service to our planet, but they need us to acknowledge them openly and say, yes, we see you, you're welcome here, let's have relationship. And then they would come amongst us, because now they have our free will involved. But they can't do that yet, because we're not doing that yet. Most people are afraid of them still. Most people aren't even sure if they're benevolent or malevolent, right? So we've got a ways to go. They need to keep acclimating us, but our government acknowledges them.
Do you believe the government can use them to exert control, or a one world government. That's the fear I go into, right? That they may be disclosing them in an effort to create some kind of, this is out there. But
for sure.
Yeah. A hologram to be like, oh, we all need a one world globalist control so we can fight the aliens.
I think for sure, knowing the negative path, they're going to use everything possible as a control weapon, which is what they do.
Yeah.
So they'll stage a fake alien invasion at some point, I'm sure. Maybe they just did that in Miami. I don't know. But
that was fishy. I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the CIA has all kinds of technology that they always test run things before they do a global rollout of it. We saw that with COVID, was it Event 201, where they had that fake simulation of COVID like just a few months before the pandemic, like to the T, moment by moment, exactly the way the pandemic played out. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Of course, yeah, bro.
Event 201.
That's conspiracy 101, bro.
Well, it's not, because it happened.
No, I mean, like, it's like if you
but I get it.
Are somewhat aware, you've seen this stuff, yeah.
Well, conspiracy is, in a sense, the most truthful thing that ever happens on our planet.
Yeah.
Because a conspiracy means two or more people conspiring together to do harm to others for their own benefit.
Yeah.
That happens every second of our existence on this planet. There's people right now actively plotting how they can take control and power away from people to give to themselves. This is what it means to be human at this point. There's nothing
even all business
fake about
business around that concept. Yeah.
So I mean, conspiracy is the nature of being human in that sense. But getting back to the question is, my theory is that these positive ETs have definitely been communicating with our government for a long time, and they've been trying to bargain with them, but our government's been not taking the deal they're being offered. And I think the deal is, we will give you every technology you need to have a utopian society, all people well-fed, no poverty at all, no disease at all. We will give you free energy technology, everything you need to have a beautiful, harmonious planet where all beings are equal. All you have to do is get rid of all your nuclear weapons and stop enslaving your people, type of thing, right? And for sure, our government's like, no, we're not taking that deal. We like our power. We like our control. And so the ETs have to be like, okay, we're not going to force you to do this, but this is our ongoing offer. If you want our amazing technology, how to travel to the stars, how to have free energy, how to heal any sickness or illness, we'll gladly give it to you, but you got to give us your nukes. And the government's like, nope, we like our disease. We like our control. It gives us lots of power. And so that's just where we're at. But at a certain point, humanity will evolve enough where our government will take that deal. And then these ETs will begin to give us technology that will almost overnight turn us into a completely different civilization.
Do the ETs ever intervene? Like if something bad's about to happen, like someone's like, I'm gonna drop a nuke, and they're like, nope. Is there ever like some kind of block off the backboard when someone's about to do something evil?
Like a LeBron.
Yeah.
Well, we saw this in one of the congressional hearings on the UAP force. Was one of the military generals was discussing what he saw with his own eyes, which was, I don't remember when this was. It might have been in the 80s or something, when they were testing nukes during the Cold War or something. But they sent a nuke up, and a craft appeared, and multiple military personnel described it the same way. They said it appeared below the nuclear warhead, like a little bit off to the side of it, and it shot a laser up from the bottom, and then it appeared on the side, shot a laser from the side, appeared on the top, shot a laser from the top, appeared on the right, shot a laser from the right, and then the nuclear warhead was deactivated. And then it just vanished. I didn't know this. Wow. You didn't know this?
No, bro.
Wow. And this has happened multiple times, apparently, where they're trying to test nukes out, and some craft appears, and it's like their way of saying, don't do this. Kind of like if a baby grabbed a knife, you'd be like, no, and you'd take the knife, It's like, you don't know what you're playing with. We're not going to let you do this because, number one, they want to honor free will. And it's like, what percentage of humanity's free will is involved with nukes? 0.001%. And it's just the people in power who want to do this and want to build these bombs. The rest of us are like, stop. We don't want a planet with nukes. Stop it, And so the ETs know that, because they're always reading the collective consciousness. And they're like, hey, not only would this create, if they, like we did to Hiroshima and Nagasaki, if they unleash these weapons, hundreds of thousands of people are going to die unfairly. That's an infringement of free will. And these people don't even want these nukes here. It's just this tiny handful of powerful people doing this. So because we have more of the free will of these people on our side, we're going to stop these nukes. So like they're always operating in the boundaries of free will, and they won't go beyond it. But that is their goal, is to serve and help our planet. And they're doing so in whatever ways they possibly can, I think.
I'm going to close with this question. I think it's an important one, is what you're discussing is perceived by the many as like lunacy, being crazy, being insane. What did it take internally for you to fully have no problem speaking this with full openness? I think that's the stage most of us, because most of us, to some extent, maybe not the alien stuff, but most of us to some extent have a moral compass where we don't agree with gender stuff, we don't agree with certain agendas, but we're too afraid to speak it because we fear judgment. So what did it take in you to be so outspoken and willing to say whatever you want without any fear? And how can someone follow that blueprint to get to that place themselves? And is it freeing to be in that space?
Mm-hmm. Great questions. I haven't thought about this question before, but I think it just begins with not caring what people think anymore. When you see how many people are so afraid of falling outside of public opinion, it's a very weak state of mind to live from, to be afraid of public opinion of yourself and to need to always fall in line with the status quo thought. It's kind of cringy to me, actually. So when you see it that way, it's not hard to speak your mind anymore. And I also, from another perspective, kind of think similarly. If people hear me talking about theorizing, and I'm not saying I know all this for certain, I'm saying these are my theories, this is the way I think it works, because if these theories are true, it completely validates what we're seeing. They're not coming openly because they can't, because it would energetically depolarize them, and they would lose all the charge that they've gained if they just violated our free will. So these things add up, so it seems like they're true, but we'll find out as time goes on. So I'm not attached to any of this. But it's important to have speculation and have theories so that we can continue evolving in our thinking, because otherwise we're going to keep doing the same dumb stuff we've been doing and getting the same dumb results. So for people to be like so hyper skeptical that they're not even willing to question something that's outside of their paradigm, to me is a kind of stupidity or a kind of lack of intelligence. And I don't want to fall into that myself anymore. So when you see that the universe is so much more complex and infinite than you possibly could have imagined, then it actually feels less intelligent to be skeptical, and it feels more intelligent to be radically open. And that openness is just, I don't know. It's not, I know for sure, and that's dumb and wrong. That's what skepticism tends to be, is skepticism should be open-mindedness, but it doesn't come across that way in our society. Skepticism is, I know for sure that that's wrong. I know for sure that that's not true. And whenever you think you know, you're always wrong in some way, because you can't know anything for sure. So like, it's just basic intelligence to me to be open to the infinitude of our universe and say, yeah, that's totally possible. But if I'm getting hunkered down on an opinion of, I know for sure it's this way, or I know for sure it's not that way, both of those are not intelligent positions to hold for me. So I'm not afraid of public opinion anymore. If people disagree with me, I left that behind when I left Christianity and got massively, criticized by all my friends and family for that. So I kind of got through that phase already, but it's now more so just seeing what true intelligence looks like is to be very, very open and be willing to question things that are out of the ordinary.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It's been my path too. My perspective to this, I think it's been a theme of this podcast, is that what's true. If I think it's true, it's my moral duty to say it, right? Like, and also it's like the feeling I dread the most is looking in the mirror and seeing a coward.
Right.
And I am a coward if I don't say what I think or don't speak the truth. So it comes down to that. But thank you so much for coming on, and I learned a lot this podcast, and I respect your balls and saying all this stuff with no fear, because out of anyone I've had, you probably said the most without any fear. So I appreciate it.
Nice, man. Thank you for having me, brother. It's been a pleasure.
Of course, man. Thank you very much.